Hello everybody, and welcome to this video, which will be the first of many in this fun little series we're doing here. Since the Bukowski one was such a success with you guys, I decided I would go through each episode of the short-lived 12-episode show, USA Poetry. Yes, that is what it's called. And today we are going to, this was done by Richard Moore in 1966. And today the first poet that we are starting with is Anne Sexton. And this is not in any particular order. It was just the first one that popped up when I searched for it. So we're gonna watch this thing about Anne Sexton, and I know a lot of the people who watch this channel, if they haven't read Anne Sexton yet, after watching this, I think a lot of you might really dig her stuff. I'm going to be pausing it throughout to say little things here and there. And at the end of this, I'm going to kind of go over a little biography of her so you have a better understanding, because something is going to happen pretty soon after this show is aired to her that is kind of a big deal. Okay? So without any further caca, let's get into the show.
Kind. I have gone out, a possessed witch, haunting the black air, braver at night, dreaming evil. I have done my hitch over the plain houses, light by light. Lonely thing, 12-fingered, out of mind. A woman like that is not a woman quite. I have been her kind. I have found the warm caves in the woods, fill them with skillets, carvings, shelves, closets, silks, innumerable goods, fixed the suppers for the worms and the elves, whining, rearranging the disaligned. A woman like that is misunderstood. I have been her kind. I have ridden in your cart, driver, waved my nude arms at villages going by, learning the last bright roots, survivor where your flames still bite my thigh, and my ribs crack where your wheels whine. A woman like that is not ashamed to die. I have been her kind.
NET presents USA Poetry. This is a film about the poet Anne Sexton.
I had a nervous breakdown. And after it, I said, I kept saying, I'm so dumb, I can't do anything. My mother was a very brilliant woman. And my psychiatrist suggested that I watch Channel 2. You have an educational television there. Why don't you look at it? So I did, and I.A. Richards was explaining the form of a sonnet, and I thought, so that's a sonnet. So I sat down and tried to write one. It was a pretty bad thing. And that just turned me on, and then I, turned on. And wrote like mad. I used to stay at this desk. First it was a card table, because I didn't think I was the poet. When I put a desk, it was in our dining room then. I had no place to work like this lovely place. Our dining room was a mess. We could never entertain. Papers, books, everything. Then I put up some bookshelves, and everything was tentative. But I used to stay here from, every minute that I wasn't taking care of the kids until 3 in the morning. I'd drag upstairs, and then get up at 6, take care of the kids. Working and working and working on a poem that, was no good, of course, but I had to learn that way. There's one poem that I wrote, there's one poem in this manuscript that is an old poem that I wouldn't give up. And it says June, let's see, that's October, everything is, it's an old poem and I wouldn't let go of it. This one is Self in 1958. But this is that poem, and I know how to write it a little bit better. It still has the same simplicity. It was written in a very simple style, but it's rather a good defining poem of me. What is reality? I am a plaster doll. I pose with eyes that cut open without landfall or nightfall upon some shellacked and grinning person. eyes that open, blue, steel, and close. Am I approximately an eye magnet transplant? I have hair, black angel stuffing to comb, nylon legs, luminous arms, and some advertised clothes. I live in a doll's house with 4 chairs, a counterfeit table, a flat roof, and a big front door. Many have come to such a small crossroad. There is an iron bed. Life enlarges, life takes aim. A cardboard floor, windows that flash open upon someone's city, and little more. Someone plays with me, plants me in the all-electric kitchen. Is this what Mrs. Rumbar said? Someone pretends with me. I am walled in solid by their noise, or puts me upon their straight bed. They think I am me. Their warmth is not a friend. They pry my mouth for their cups of gin and their stale bread. What is reality to this synthetic doll who should smile, who should shift gears, should spring the doors open in wholesome disorder, and have no evidence of ruin or fears? But I would cry, rooted into the wall that was once my mother, if I could remember how, and if I had the tears. That's a long amount of time to, but essentially, that was a poem that I saved from that, and rescued, out of the chaos of way back then. Although I did get very manic once, and they told me I was psychotic in the hospital, and I thought that was a riot, because I was still me. I thought psychotic was someplace else, but I was still me. And I talked to my friend they had a little payphone in the nut house. It was MGH, actually, a ward they have in there. And I was still me, and I used to talk with her and tell her what was going on. I'd call my kids, and they were at camp, and I'd say, I want to tell you what we had for lunch today. So they'd feel in touch with me, what was going on. When they saw the OT, occupational therapy room, they said, what a great crafts room. Ringing the bells.
Okay, let me take a quick minute here. The thing that happens that I'm guessing is going to be the thing that comes up quite a bit is the lives that these people live. Okay? This vision of what a poet is like and what they do, this is a lot of where misconceptions come from with this kind of shit. This is the misconception of what a poet looks like. And last night I was at a meeting over wine. I don't know another fucking way of putting it. And it came up 3 different times. You don't look like a poet. And I'm like, yeah, no fucking shit. It was just cracking me up. And, but, this is the idea people have of what a poet is and what a poet does. And, I really feel probably still a lot of this look, because you have to remember too, we talked about it on that episode I did with Andrew from Heavy Board. We were talking about how most people could not afford to become a poet. It was something that only well-off people did. Either they were from money or they married into money. And this episode doesn't do a whole lot to make that idea not be something that's in your head. So I'm really curious as to how many more of these episodes are going to focus on people who have this same kind of thing. Because that would be really telling, for sure. So anyway, let's just get back to it.
And this is the way they ring the bells in Bedlam. And this is the bell lady who comes each Tuesday morning to give us a music lesson. And because the attendants make you go, and because we mind by instinct, like bees caught in the wrong hive. We are the circle of the crazy ladies who sit in the lounge of the mental house and smile at the smiling woman who passes us each a bell, who points at my hand that holds my bell, E flat. And this is the gray dress next to me who grumbles as if it were special to be old, to be old. And this is the small hunched squirrel girl on the other side of me who picks at the hairs over her lip, who picks at the hairs over her lip all day. And this is how the bells really sound, as untroubled and clean as a workable kitchen. And this is always my bell responding to my hand that responds to the lady who points at me, E flat. And although we are no better for it, they tell you to go. And you do. Anne Sexton, American poet, writes, I was born in Newton, Massachusetts, and have spent most of my life on the coast of Maine. In the summer, or wintering in Wellesley, Newton, and Weston, all suburban towns west of Boston. My ancestor, William Brewster, came to America on the Mayflower and sounds like a decent sort of man from what I've read of him. My family tree goes back, I have lately found, to assortments of royalty, such as William the Conqueror, King Edward III, second first, King Philip IV of France, King Ferdinand of Spain, etc. This list amuses me most when I find such notes in the family genealogy as Edward III founded the Knights of the Garter, married Philippa of Hainault, his mistress, age 15. Mistress of 15. Ah, those were the days. I was a third and last daughter. As a young child, I was locked in my room until the age of 5. After that at school, I did not understand the people who were my size or even the larger ones. Thus I hid in fairy tales and read them daily like a prayer book. I did not even like my dolls, for they resembled people. I wrote some poems in high school, but stopped when my mother suggested that I had plagiarized them. My mother was brilliant and vital. One thought in meeting her that she had written all the first editions in her own library. She collected first editions. Of course, I was unbearable, unhappy, unreachable, and as soon as possible, I became boy crazy. In fact, I eloped at 19 with Alfred M. Sexton. As a matter of interest, I'm still married to him. I found this somewhat unusual among writers in general. Fairy tales we all have in common, but one marriage seldom. Young. 1,000 doors ago, when I was a lonely kid, in a big house with 4 garages, and it was summer as long as I could remember.
No, she's in a little house.
I lay on the lawn at night, clover wrinkling under me, the wise stars bedding over me. My mother's window, a funnel of yellow heat running out. My father's window, half shut, and I where sleepers pass. And the boards of the house were smooth and white as wax, and probably 1,000,000 leaves sailed on their strange stalks as the crickets ticked together. And I, in my brand new body, which was not a woman's yet, told the stars my questions, and thought God could really see the heat and the painted light, elbows, knees, dreams, good night. Those times.
Look at her.
At 6, I lived in a graveyard full of dolls, avoiding myself, my body, the suspect in its grotesque house.
So good.
Was locked in my room all day behind a gate, a prison cell. I was the exile who sat all day in a knot. I will speak of the little childhood cruelties, being a third child, the last given and the last taken. Of the nightly humiliations when mother undressed me, of the life of the daytime locked in my room, being the unwanted, the mistake that mother used to keep father from his divorce. Divorce, the romantic's friend, romantics who fly into maps of other countries, hips and noses in mountains, into Asia or the Black Forest, or caught by 1928, the year of the me, by mistake. Not for divorce, but instead. The me who refused to suck on breasts she couldn't please. The me whose body grew unsurely. The me who stepped on the noses of dolls she couldn't break. I think of the dolls, so well made, so perfectly put together, as I pressed them against me, kissing their little imaginary mouths. I remember their smooth skin, those newly delivered, the pink skin and the serious china blue eyes. They came from a mysterious country, without the pang of birth, born quietly and well. When I wanted to visit, the closet is where I rehearsed my life, all day among shoes, away from the glare of the bulb in the ceiling, away from the bed and the heavy table and the same terrible rows repeating on the walls. I did not question it. I hid in the closet as one hides in a tree. I grew into it like a root, and yet I planned such plans of flight, believing I would take my body into the sky, dragging it with me like a large bed. And although I was unskilled, I was sure to get there, or at least to move up like an elevator. With such dreams, storing their energy like a bull, I planned my growth and my womanhood as one choreographs a dance. I knew that if I waited among shoes, I was sure to outgrow them. The heavy Oxfords, the thick execution reds, shoes that lay together like partners, the sneakers thick with Griffin eyewash, and then the dresses swinging above me, always above me, empty and sensible, with sashes and puffs, with collars and 2-inch hems, and evil fortunes in their belts. I sat all day stuffing my heart into a shoebox, avoiding the precious window as if it were an ugly eye through which birds coughed, chained to the heaving trees, avoiding the wallpaper of the room where tongues bloomed over and over, bursting from lips like sea flowers. And in this way, I waited out the day until my mother, the large one, came to force me to undress.
Remember that poem, because I have some thoughts about it.
I lay there silently, hoarding my small dignity. I did not ask about the gate or the closet. I did not question the bedtime ritual where, on the cold bathroom tiles, I was spread out daily and examined for flaws. I did not know that my bones, those solids, those pieces of sculpture would not splinter. I did not know the woman I would be, nor that blood would bloom in me each month like an exotic flower, nor that children, 2 monuments, would break from between my legs, 2 cramped girls breathing carelessly, each asleep in her tiny beauty. I did not know that my life in the end would run over my mother's like a truck, and all that would remain from the year I was 6 was a small hole in my heart, a deaf spot, so that I might hear the unsaid more clearly. It's terrible. It's very sad for my kids. And the witch isn't really that bad. They paint her pink. That's just because they're so beautiful. I'm very lucky to have those children. Even though I can get mad at them or, any of that. Still, they were the one who taught me how to be a mother. Because I hadn't had any mothering, so I didn't really know. They're the good things, the big presents of my life.
So I have to find Mr. Taylor.
Give me a kiss. Can we kiss across this bridge?
I love you. I do. And I'm glad you talked to her, because things have never been
Yeah,
straight.
but I shouldn't have to. You've got to make it by yourself.
Yeah, I know it, but I didn't know she was just joking like that. And I wasn't even going to tell you, because you were getting all upset about it.
But you're supposed to tell me. You're
Yeah,
supposed to
but-
tell me what goes on. But I don't have to fix everything. You've got to learn to fix it.
Yeah,
Someday
I
there
know.
won't be any
That's
me.
why I
You're gonna have
wasn't going
fix
to tell
things.
you. That's what I wasn't going
I don't have any mother to call up and say, fix everything.
Yeah, I know. You have me.
I know. My string beans. Okay. I wanted to give a party because she'd matured. Instead of giving a party, I wrote a poem. Little girl, my string bean, my lovely woman. My daughter at 11, almost 12, is like a garden. Oh, darling, born in that sweet birthday suit and having owned it and known it for so long, now you must watch high noon enter, noon at ghost hour. Oh, funny little girl, This one under a blueberry sky, this one, how can I say that I've known just what you know and just where you are? It's not a strange place, this odd home where your face sits in my hand, so full of distance, so full of its immediate fever. The summer has seized you as when, last month in Amalfi, I saw lemons as large as your desk-side globe, that miniature map of the world. And I could mention, too, the market stalls of mushrooms and garlic buds all engorged. Or I think even of the orchard next door where the berries are done and the apples are beginning to swell. And once with our backyard, I remember I planted an acre of yellow beans we couldn't eat. Oh, little girl, my string bean, how do you grow? You grow this way. You are too many to eat. I hear, as in a dream, the conversation of the old wives speaking of womanhood. I remember that I heard nothing myself. I was alone. I waited like a target. Let high noon enter, the hour of the ghosts. Once the Romans believed that noon was the ghost hour, and I can believe it too under the startling sun. And someday they will come to you, someday men bare to the waist, young Romans at noon where they belong, with ladders and hammers while no one sleeps. But before they enter, I will have said, your bones are lovely. And before their strange hands, there was always this hand that formed. Oh, darling, let your body in. Let it tie you in comfort. What I want to say, Linda, is that women are born twice. If I could have watched you grow as a magical mother might, if I could have seen through my magical transparent belly, there would have been such ripening within. Your embryo, the seed taking on its own, life clapping the bedpost, bones from the pond, thumbs and two mysterious eyes, the awfully human head, the heart jumping like a puppy, the important lungs, the becoming while it becomes, as it does now, a world of its own, a delicate place. I say hello to such shakes and knockings and hijinks, such music, such sprouts, such dancing mad bears of music, such necessary sugar, such goings on. Oh, little girl, my string bean, how do you grow? You grow this way. You are too many to eat. What I want to say, Linda, is that there is nothing in your body that lies. All that is new is telling the truth. I'm here. That's somebody else. An old tree in the background. Darling, stand still at your door, sure of yourself, a white stone, a good stone. As exceptional as laughter, you will strike fire, that new thing.
All right. So, a couple more things. She looks almost exactly like this friend of mine, and it's kind of freaking me out. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Oh my god. Okay, the way she reads and performs is one of the things about poetry that I've never liked. It's one thing to, I don't know, enunciate things a certain way or put like emphasis on certain words, but the whole like, oh, thoughtful, like this is the first time I've ever heard of this line before, oh god, oh, and then like looking up, it's always like this, like I don't know if she's just putting on a kind of a show for the camera crew and all this shit, or if this is how she would always read her poetry. But this is another one of those, like, it feels like it's still The Great Gatsby. Like, this is like the mid to late 60s right here. And I feel like we're in like 1926 or something like that. I don't know. Whatever. Her poems are way too long. Let's just fucking cut to the shit right now. Her poems are too fucking long. But fuck, man, does she have beautiful lines, dude. Like, they'll pop up every now and again, and you're just like, oh my god.
When I can make a sound like this, this is totally cracked and crazy as it is. Listen to that voice. And with those clumsy words, I must try to make it. I can't. That's a voice like a flute, you know, or a songbird, or... I don't mean to sound... It's the way I feel, really, inside. Silly. I mean, I feel ashamed of it, even. And this damn typewriter, all it gives me is words. Don't do that to me. They don't make me cry the way that does. Makes me cry. Like something I've lost. There's something in that I've lost and that I can't find. The addict, sleepmonger, deathmonger, with capsules in my palms each night, 8 at a time from sweet pharmaceutical bottles. I make arrangements for a pint-sized journey. I'm the queen of this condition. I'm an expert on making the trip. And now they say I'm an addict. Now they ask why. Why? Don't you know that I promised to die? I'm keeping in practice. I'm merely staying in shape. The pills are a mother, but better, every color, and as good as sour balls. I'm on a diet from death. Yes, I admit it has gotten to be a bit of a habit. Blows 8 at a time, sucked in the eye, hauled away by the pink, the orange, the green, and the white good nights. I'm becoming something of a chemical mixture. That's it. My supply of tablets has got to last for years and years. I like them more than I like me. Stubborn as hell, they won't let go. It's a kind of marriage. It's a kind of war where I plant bombs inside of myself. Yes, I try to kill myself in small amounts. An innocuous occupation. Actually, I'm hung up on it. But remember, I don't make too much noise. And frankly, no one has to lug me out. And I don't stand there in my winding sheet. I'm a little buttercup in my yellow nightie, eating my 8 loaves in a row, and in a certain order, as in the laying on of hands, or the black sacrament. It's a ceremony, but like any other sport, it's full of rules. It's like a musical tennis match where my mouth keeps catching the ball. Then I lie on my altar, elevated by the 8 chemical kisses. What a lay me down this is, with the 2 pink, 2 orange, 2 green, 2 white good nights. It's a sleep. It's a sleep you can keep. Live or die, but don't poison everything. Live. Well, death's been here for a long time. It has a hell of a lot to do with hell and suspicion of the eye and the religious objects and how I mourned them when I made them obscene with my dwarf heart's doodle. The chief ingredient is mutilation. And mud day after day, mud like a ritual, and the baby on the platter, cooked but still human. Cooked also with little maggots sewn onto it maybe by somebody's mother, the damn bitch. Even so, I kept right on going on, a sort of human statement, lugging myself as if I were the sawed-off body in the trunk, the steamer trunk. This became a perjury of the soul. It became an outright lie. And even though I dressed the body, it was still naked, still killed. It was caught in the first place at birth like a fish. But I played it, dressed it up like somebody's doll. Is life something you play? And all the time wanting to get rid of it? And further, everyone yelling at you to shut up? And no wonder. People don't like to be told that you're sick and then be forced to watch you come down with a hammer. Today, life opened inside me like an egg. And there inside, after considerable digging, I found the answer. What a bargain! There was the sun, her yoke moving feverishly, tumbling her prize. And you realize that she does this daily? I'd known she was a purifier, but I hadn't thought she was solid. Hadn't known she was an answer. God, it's a dream. Lovers sprouting in the yard like celery stalks. And better, a husband straight as a redwood. 2 daughters, 2 sea urchins, picking roses off my hackles. If I'm on fire, they dance around it and cook marshmallows. And if I'm ice, they simply skate on me in little ballet costumes. Here all along, thinking I was a killer, anointing myself daily with my little poisons. But no, I'm an empress. I wear an apron. My typewriter writes. It didn't break the way it warned. Even crazy, I'm as nice as a chocolate bar. Even with the witches' gymnastics, they trust my incalculable city, my corruptible bed. Oh, dearest 3, I make a soft reply. The witch comes on, and you paint her pink. I come with kisses in my hood, and the sun, the smart one, rolling in my arms. So I say, live, and turn my shadow 3 times round, to feed our puppies as they come. The 8 Dalmatians we didn't drown, despite the warnings, the abort, the destroy, despite the pails of water that waited to drown them, to pull them down like stones, they came, each one head first, blowing bubbles the color of cataract blue, and fumbling for the tiny tits. Just last week, 8 Dalmatians, 3/4 of a pound, lined up like cordwood, each like a birch tree. I promise to love more if they come, because in spite of cruelty and the stuffed railroad cars for the ovens, I am not what I expected. Not an Eichmann. The poison just didn't take. So I won't hang around in my hospital shift, repeating the black mass and all of it. I say live, live, because of the sun, the dream, the excitable gift.
Books by Anne Sexton include To Bedlam and Part 1, published by Houghton Mifflin in 1960. All My Pretty Ones, by the same publisher in 1962. Selected Poems, Oxford University Press, 1965. And the most recent collection, Live or Die, to be published by Houghton Mifflin in 1966. This is NET, the National Educational Television Network.
So now, like I told you to remember that thing we just heard, Anne Sexton was born in 28, which is weird because she says that in that poem, and she died in 74. Was an American poet known for her highly personal confessional verse. She won the Pulitzer for poetry in 1967 for her book Live or Die. So probably right around the time that this show was coming out, she was either about to win or had just won the Pulitzer for her book that was about to come out. Her poetry details her long battles with bipolar disorder, suicidal tendencies, and intimate details from her private life, including relationships with her husband and children, whom it was later alleged she physically and sexually assaulted. Oh, that makes a lot of what we just saw very difficult to watch. She was with Alfred Sexton until 1973, and she was dead in 74. So I don't know if he died and then she died or what, but she had her first child, Linda, in 53, and her second child in 55. Okay, now this is where shit gets a little weird. So she had bipolar disorder. She had a manic episode in 54, a second episode in 55, and then she met Dr. Orn, who became her long-term therapist, and Orn was the one who encouraged her to write poetry. So the whole, poetry is therapy thing, this is definitely... Oh yeah, and it says right there, Alfred died in 73. Okay. Now, it says her first poetry workshop she attended was led by John Holmes. I already looked. That's why it's a little light purple. It's not that John Holmes. It's the poet John Holmes. So she went to this first thing. She found early acclaim with her poems. A number were accepted by the New Yorker, Harper's, and Saturday Review. Jesus fucking Christ. Here's the fucking world on a cracker. She studied with Robert Lowell at Boston University alongside Sylvia Plath and George Starbuck. Sexton later paid homage to her friendship with Plath in the 1963 poem Sylvia's Death. Her first volume of poetry, To Bedlam and Partway Back, was published in 1960 and included the poem Her Kind, which she actually read in that show. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she did. Which uses the persecution of witches as an analogy for the oppression of women by the patriarchy. Let's see, she met Snodgrass. She had a play called Mercy Street. Oh, this is actually kind of interesting here. So on October 4th, 1974, Sexton had lunch with Kuman to revise galleys for Sexton's manuscript, The Awful Rowing Toward God, scheduled for publication in March 75. Upon returning home, she put on her mother's old fur coat, removed all her rings, poured herself a glass of vodka, locked herself in the garage, and started the engine of her car, ending her life by carbon monoxide poisoning. In an interview over a year before her death, she explained she had written the first drafts of The Awful Rowing Toward God in 20 days. 2 days out for despair and 3 days out in a mental hospital. She went on to say that she would not allow the poems to be published before her death. So once she finished the galleys for her book, she went home and killed herself, so she wouldn't be around when that stuff came out. I have not read that book, so I have no idea what's in it. Let's see, confessional poet. She wrote openly about menstruation, abortion, masturbation, incest, adultery, and drug addiction at the time when the proprieties embraced none of these as popular topics for poetry. Sexton's work towards the end of the 1960s has been criticized as preening, lazy, and flip by otherwise respectful critics. I don't know if those words would be used by respectful critics. Some critics regard her dependence on alcohol as compromising her last work. However, other critics see Sexton as a poet whose writing matured over time. The thing that's really crazy, if she was really taking all of those medications and she was drinking all the time, I don't know how she was able to, actually move around. That's some hard shit. Following one of the many suicide attempts and manic or depressive episodes, Sexton worked with therapist Martin Orn. He diagnosed her with what is now described as bipolar disorder. but his competence to do so is called into question by his early use of allegedly unsound psychotherapeutic techniques. During sessions with Sexton, he used hypnosis and sodium pentanol or whatever, to recover supposedly repressed memories. During the process, he allegedly used suggestion to uncover memories of having been abused by her father. This abuse was disputed in interviews by her mother and other relatives. Okay, a couple things here. Maybe it said it up there and I just went past it. But, so if she thinks that she was abused by her father, in that poem that's talking about how as a kid she had to lay naked on the floor and the whole thing to be examined, when she was reading that poem, she was saying it, and then my mother would come in and examine me and all this other stuff. That's really weird if, according to her, the abuse was done by her father. And if it came out later that she had abused her kid, is that poem her going back and forth between her head and her kid's head and never, saying who's speaking kind of thing? You know what I'm saying? So that's just really fucking weird. But more on this crazy shit. Orn wrote that hypnosis in an adult frequently does not present accurate memories of childhood. Instead, adults under hypnosis are not literally revealing their early childhood, but presenting them through the prisms of adulthood. According to Orn, Sexton was extremely suggestible and would mimic the symptoms of patients around her in the mental hospitals to which she was committed. Diane Middlebrook's biography states that a separate personality named Elizabeth emerged in Sexton while under hypnosis. Orn did not encourage this development, and subsequently this alternate personality disappeared. Back in the day, and I mean, I guess mental health is still a constantly evolving science, but they didn't really understand a lot of things, and everything was just lumped into one big ball. So it was really difficult to do any kind of treatment other than just keep people completely fucking drugged to the gills. It's awful. During the writing of the Middlebrook biography, her daughter, Linda Gray Sexton, stated that she had been sexually assaulted by her mother. And Linda is the one who was on the rock with her in that middle part of the documentary. In 1994, she published her autobiography, Searching for Mercy Street, My Journey Back to My Mother, Anne Sexton, which includes her own accounts of abuse. And I don't know about this, but I'm really curious if her accounts of abuse are similar to what that poem says. That would be kind of fucking crazy. Middlebrook published the biography. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, too, up here it said, This abuse is disputed in interviews by her mother and other relatives. Well, according to what she said in the documentary, she didn't have a mother. So, I took that as her saying, that her mother was dead or something like that. Left her doctor and went to another doctor and then had an affair with the other doctor. And Dr. Orn says that that's what resulted in her suicide. But there are actually tapes of her under hypnosis with Dr. Orrin. That's crazy. I can't fucking believe that. Morrissey really liked her, and so did Peter Gabriel. Great. There are all her books. Knock yourself out. I don't know what happened to this video. I've had to edit it twice now. I lost the original footage, so I'm editing it off of another edit. In my upcoming vlog, I will talk about what actually happened and what I had to do. But the ending of this video is gone. So here is the new ending. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, let me know down below, and I will be doing more of these. And we could watch other things along. Okay? So keep getting stuff Bloodshed Review Issue 2, out now. Drinking Less, out now. When Are Your Mom's Sodomy Prize for Poetry, out now. Blood Rag Issue 14, better effing be out now. So with that said, everybody, join the crew down below, type hard, and I will talk to you all later. I just want to give a quick thanks to those people who make these videos possible. Anarchy Crew and my followers on Patreon. I appreciate the hell out of you guys. Thank you so much for keeping me going to keep this content possible. You guys are awesome. And if you'd like to join the crew or the Anarchy Crew, just hit the join button beneath this video. And if you'd like to become a member of my Patreon, you can run over to the link down below to do that as well. Thank you.